Hello, this is Katrina again, and I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on my CPC board exam. I did explain in the last video that I have scheduled it, and I have found out that I have passed. Yay! I am now a certified medical coder, so I'm very, very excited about that. The CPC exam is through AAPC. It is 5 hours and 40 minutes long, and there's 150 questions. You have a bit under, well, I like to say about 2 minutes, or a bit under 2 minutes to really do each question. So that way you have a little bit of time at the end to review any of the ones that you're unsure of. I did do the book from the back to the front. I really don't know if it's any easier doing that or not. Some of the questions were, they say there's no trick questions on it, but in my opinion, there was a couple of them that were kind of trick questions for me at least. What I ended up doing, because a lot of the trainers out there that give you the mock tests, they explain to you to do the rule out. And what I end up doing is I do the rule out where you kind of look at the codes and mark all the ones that are the exact same, and you look at the codes that are left, and typically there are 2 questions that have the exact same codes or one off, so you had to figure out which one's which. What I was actually doing is I would look at one of those codes, and then I would look at the second question and look at one of those codes and see what the difference was between them. That seemed to help me, but what I would do is I'd have to say I'm a bit more comfortable with the CPT book than the ICD-10. I'm really good at diagnosis, so I'm not too worried about it, but the CPT book, I like it better. I like how it's formatted a lot better than the ICD-10 CM. However, what I was doing is I was actually looking those codes up in the CPT and actually reading the code before I'd actually even look at the question. So as soon as I went to the question, instead of me looking at, say, question 14 and reading the medical record or whatever, I would actually look at the codes, do the rule out, and then whatever codes were left, I would look at the 2 that was the most similar and hit the book and actually read what the actual code was, and then I would look at the medical record or the question. And so that way I would kind of know, oh, well, wait a minute, this code doesn't pertain to what happened to the patient or whatnot. And for me, this second round, it really did seem to matter. I took the CPC test exam twice. The first time I did not pass. I have really, really bad test anxiety. And I'm telling you, like, my heart was pounding, my hands were sweaty, clammy, and it was just not a good time. And plus, I did drive 2 hours for the first one. The second round, I didn't. I spent the night in a hotel. Hotel experience was not too pleasant, but it was a lot easier just to drive 10 minutes in the morning and just go to the CPC exam. The exam itself is 5 hours, 40 minutes, but you got to remember, you've got to get there. They say, I think, get there 20 minutes early. I would highly recommend to get there 30 to 45 minutes early, because really and truly, you have, well, one, they've got to look through your books to make sure you don't have any loose papers or post-it notes or anything like that. Plus, you've got to make sure you get a good seat. The seating is really, really critical, in my opinion, because if you're easily distracted, you definitely don't want to be too close to someone, but at the same time, if you don't like to see anybody, you want to get a front row seat. If you want to get in the back or a corner, or look for a clock. I did notice quite a number of people that actually came in with their phones. The phones do get set by the proctor, not by you. They have to be on silent. I bought of course, my normal watch. I took my iWatch off and left it at my house. And so I just had a normal watch that's not digital or anything, so that way I could look at that, as well as a silent timer, which I will post below what silent time I had. And what's nice about it, I've actually got it right over here. What's nice about this one is this is one I used, and it's got a little button on the side, and so if you pop it up, it is noise. If you pop it down, it mutes it. And then you just push the 2 buttons, and if it's on mute, this little red button flashes. So what I did is I actually looked at each page, and if there's, say, for example, 5 questions on it, I would actually take this and just hurry up and put 10 on it, because you want 2 minutes per question. And I would just hit the timer, so that way I would know, when the minutes were down. But for me, what I was doing is by putting the 10 on there, I would do the questions as fast as possible and pick out the closest answer that I knew that it was, and then I would just go to the next one. And then sometimes if you have like 10 minutes on there and you did your 5 questions and you've still got 3 minutes and you went to the next page and say there's 4 questions, I would just add the 8 minutes directly to it. So that way you kind of knew if you're on track or not. And then at the last half hour, I actually just put it to the half hour, no matter where I was at, if I had 15 questions left or not, which I actually had at the last half hour. I had 14 questions, which logically thinking that would mean that I would be good by 2 minutes. However, the first time I took it, I had 56 seconds left, which honestly was not good. And then the second time I had 2 seconds left, and I was really nervous. The second time I took it, there was only 2 questions that was actually the same from the first test. All the other questions were different. And so for me, that was it wasn't really a challenging thing for me. But the 2 weeks before my second CPC exam, I spent those 2 weeks working from 7 o'clock in the morning when my husband and daughter left to about 5 or 6 o'clock at night. Sometimes I was actually spending till 10 o'clock at night. And what I was doing is I was repeatedly going over those mock exams, and I will post below the CPC training one that I did. It's got the 150 questions. It's like $40, and it's amazing because it gives you 150. They don't time it, but that's where my timer came in, and I was seriously utilizing the timer. I was also utilizing the pink marker and the yellow marker, as well as a pen and a pencil. So that way when I did my rule out, I would color code the questions. It just seemed easier to me. Some people didn't work. I would circle in the pencil. I would underline in the pen. And I did try blue pen and black pen, depending on if you're colorblind. My husband's colorblind, so I knew it would not work for him. But for me, it worked really good. And then I would highlight. The blue highlighter and the green highlighter are too dark for me, so I couldn't really see the code that well. And I don't care for circling too much or doing the brackets too much, because I think if you're not really too careful, you might hit the other number on the top or the bottom. So for me, I just needed to be right there really quick. And so what I was doing is the 2 weeks before my exams, I would take the CPC mock exam, the 150 question one, and I also signed up for the 3 AAPC ones, and then the CCO, I signed up for their 3, and then they have a freebie mock one. So I had a total of, I think, 7 exams. Now, the CPC training exam that I'll post below, that one, it looks like it's a book that they send you, but it's not. It's a digital download. It's a zip file. They actually have some tips, some study information, which is actually really, really nice. They go over your medical terminology again, which you really do need to know your medical terminology. I don't care what CareerStep tells you, kind of get familiar with it. You really do need to know the gist of it, really and truly, because there's a lot. They have the medical terminology questions, but if you don't know where certain muscle or tendon or whatever is in the body, you're going to be lost. There is some really great graphics in the CPT book, as well as the HexPix and the CM graphs book, and those graphs are your lifesaver. What I was doing is I would go through the mock exams and I was redoing them. So I would print them out and do them. Whichever ones I got wrong, I would mark, and then I would redo it, and I would only do the ones I got marked wrong. And so I did, like, the first one, I think there's 60 questions on it through APC, through CCO. And I would do it, and I think the first time I got like 12 wrong. So I redid those 12 after I read through them all, figured out what I did wrong, where I was going with it, and then I would take the books and I would notate them. Highlight it, underline it, notate them. And I would do a video after this that shows you what my books kind of look like. And honestly, I really and truly think now that I'm done so far with the CPC and CareerStep, my understanding what a medical billing encoder was, and now that I am, it does not line up to the same thing. I'm still happy I did it. I'm quite excited because now I will be starting to look for a job. And I will get into how to kind of look through the codes, kind of just an overall gist of it. But with my mock exams, I would go through them, redo the wrong ones, and then after I did all 6 of them, then I would switch them up and redo the whole thing. And kind of look at it, figure out what I'm getting wrong, mark it, highlight it, notate it, and honestly mark it up to CPT book, like fully mark it up like Heather's notes. I did not do the full way that she does it with all the notation that she does, but marking it, making sure your family is indented and circled and underlined, highlight the modifiers. If it's not a modifier that can be on there and it's a bilateral or a technical component or a professional component, or it's not allowed it because of the guideline, you need to make sure that you notate that, because honestly, when you're taking that exam, you really don't have that much time to read through all those guidelines. You really need to know the gist of the guidelines and highlight and underline the specificness of, I don't even know if that's a word, by the way, but anyway, just highlight and underline certain things in the guidelines that you can just do a quick reference, just glance over it, know exactly where you're going, notate, underline, and make sure you know the family groups, because really and truly, when you get these questions, you're skimming. You need to be able to read through it, skim through it, get the gist, and move on. And I can honestly say, like, now that I'm done, I am so relieved and so happy. However, because I did do my course through CareerStep, and one of the main reasons I went through CareerStep is because with the amount of knowledge and coursework that they give to you with the anatomy, physiology, and medical terminology, they are one of the only colleges that I found online that would allow you to sit for the CCS. To sit for the CCS, you actually have to have certain qualifications. I think you have to have, like, I think it's an associate's in health management or health information or whatnot, or you have to have so many years of actual coding, or you have to have an actual coursework that hits certain courses. Physiology, I think that's how you say it, anatomy, medical terminology, so many medical records that you actually did through the course. And luckily for us, CareerStep is one of those that allow you to. So with that being said, now that I have finished the CPC and I'm credentialed, I'm sitting for the CCS. So what I'm doing is this month, I'm going to go ahead and study for the CCS. Now, the main difference between the CCS and the CPC is one is inpatient, one's outpatient. One utilizes the PCS book and one does not. So when I sit for the CCS, I'll take all the books except for I think you don't take the HCPCS book, but you do take the PCS book. So what I'm going to do is sit for the CCS and study for it. So on my last video, I did mention the Applied PCS. And what I'm going to do, the Applied PCS is the book that I need. So now that I'm finished, I am opening up the Applied PCS portion of the CareerStep. That's why I was kind of like, well, I finished CareerStep, but I kind of didn't. So it's an extra little course thing that they do through CareerStep. CareerStep told me that it takes about 3 months to finish it, but I'm doing it full time. So I'm hoping to have it done within the month. I think I have like a month or two left with the CareerStep course because I had to do an extension on it, and I didn't do the 1 month extension. I did a 3 month, which actually, I think it was actually 4 months that you get. I think it was like a freebie month. But the one thing is for me, if you do the Applied PCS, in my mind, it kind of going to give you a refresher on the PCS. I have not started it yet, so I might be completely way off. But I'm going to go ahead and start that on probably Monday or Tuesday of next week and get that going. A lot of people I've talked to, though, have actually said that they have pretty much gone directly from the final to taking the CCS and passing it first try, and then sometimes they'll take the CPC and may or may not pass the first try. It might take that second. Now, with the CPC, you do get one free retake. If you have to do a third retake, you know, like a third test, you have to pay for it. So I really was not wanting to pay for it. Sorry about that. My phone rang and it cut the recording. So anyway, so the CPC only gives you one free retake. CCS does not. You pay $2.99 and that's it. Now I am going to see if there's any kind of scholarship or Pell Grant or anything I can do to waive that, or help with that cost. If not, that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and sit for it. I was trying to decide if I wanted the CCS or the CCO, but I'm ideally going to try to get a remote job coding. I want to work from home. I really don't want to go to a location. I don't mind going maybe once or twice a week, but honestly, I ideally want to be home because I've got my cats here. So I went ahead, I've already uploaded my resume on some of the job sites, but so far everything that I've looked at for remote coding, they want experience, of course, and a lot of them are wanting CCS or CPC. Some of them say preferred CPC, but they really want CCS, and I've noticed they want CCO. However, I think the CCO has CPC stuff in it as well as CCS. But ideally, because I've already got the CPC, I'm just going to go ahead and sit for the CCS. So that way, if I can get a remote job doing hospital stuff, in or outpatient, it would just help me with CPC. And from what I understand, the more credentials you have, the more marketable you are. I definitely want to be marketable. Especially being in the military with my husband. I'm not military, my husband is. I'm just a spouse. But being a military spouse, we move a lot. So I definitely want to make sure if I'm remote, I might be able to move within the same company and just go from one state to another and not have to worry about finding a new job each time. That's a big thing for me because I do not like switching jobs. I like to stay within the same company and advance within that company. So if I can go on with that company as an entry-level coder and then advance up to like an auditor or anything else and just go into management, that would be amazing. Right now, if I could just get my foot in the door, that would be amazing as well. I've left my resume up there. I've applied for 3 jobs. I've gotten 2 denial emails already because I don't have experience. But a lot of the jobs that I was looking at require CCS as well. So I'm like, you know what? It's all in my head. I've already been trained through it through CareerStep. I'm definitely going to go do it. Luckily for me, there is an actual local proctor location that does the CCS sitting like twice a week, like twice next month, and then in January they got a couple open seats. You do not have to get new books until May for the sitting at the CCS. CPC, if you have the current edition of 2018, you can only sit until January, or I guess December 30th or 31st. Because of the fact that all the testing and all of that changed with the new books for next year. So that was also one thing behind me that was like, I've got to do it now, because if not, I've got to sign up and sit for the CPC ASAP, because I don't want to have to purchase new books, because all my books are highlighted and notated for this year. And especially if my new job gives me like either an allowance or a voucher, or they just pay for new books, I don't want to spend $350 for 4 more books, because I will be getting that CCS, so I will need that PCS. So yes, it is 4 books for me. If you're only going to get for the CPC, you only want the CPC, you only need the 3 books. You don't need the PCS. But for me, why do all that coursework and let that CCS not be underneath your belt? You know, because that's something we're trained for, so I'm definitely going to try to get, you know, but that's my take on it. So for me, I really want to make sure that I've got my CPC, my CCS, start applying for jobs. So right now, I've got my resume out there. I'm not going to apply for any more jobs. If someone happens to see it and call me up and offer me a remote position, oh, I'm taking it. And I'm still going to let them know, hey, I'm still sitting for the CCS. So I would imagine the employer will be okay knowing that I'm going to be sitting for it, and I will sit for it and sit for it and sit for it until I get the sucker. Because I'm driven like that. I'm not going to just study for it and be like, oh my God, I failed, and not continue with it. My husband backs me up on continued education, so I'm definitely one to continue with the education. The only thing it's going to do is make me more marketable. I am hoping to get a job ASAP. I know CareerStep claims that they help you with the job and help you with the resume, but they sent me an email with a generalized resume that you pretty much take from a little bit, and it just kind of goes over some of the stuff that you've gone over with CareerStep. It was not what I anticipated with the resume, and I want my resume to look really professional, and I don't think they actually offer like a resume service to actually look at your past experience and get them formatted into your resume. All my past experience, all of it, is in sales, telecommunication, customer service type stuff. I work for AT&T, I've worked for Quest, I work for Bell South, and none of that is in medical. However, I did find out that on some jobs, they do require you to call. And cold calling, some people don't like to do. I've done lots of cold calling. I've done call intake, outtake, you name it. So for me, picking up the phone and talking to people, it doesn't faze me. I'm used to it. I feel very comfortable in that. So if I need to pick up the phone and call an insurance company or call somebody up or a customer or anything, I have no problem doing that. I've done billing, I've done customer service, I've done high sales, I've done low sales. I mean, you name it, I've done it when it comes to the phone. So for me, I'm pretty excited about that. So I've actually re-added that to my resume because I didn't really think about cold calling and sales. And you really don't think about what your previous experience in sales might actually do with medical coding, but apparently it kind of plays a role. So I'm kind of excited about that. So anyway, I will do the next video on how I've done my books, and then I'll either do it in the same video or I might do another video on what medical billing and coding actually is. Now that I'm certified and I've passed everything, well, passed the coursework and passed the CPC, I think now that I have an understanding of what it is, I think everybody out there kind of needs to know it as well. So I will try to post that within the next few days, and then kind of let you know what goes on with my CCS. I'm hoping to take that sometime in January, and then we'll kind of go from there. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, definitely comment below, and I'll try to get those answered within the next few days as well. And then any other links that you may need or anything that I've referenced, I will link it down below. So definitely take a look at that. And we'll go from there. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day.